The Alien saga is brilliant but fractured. Prequels, sequels, and spin-offs, including FX's Alien Earth, scatter the timeline across centuries, leaving chaos in their wake. But put the story in order, and it becomes clear: the birth of humanity, the rise of the Xenomorph, and the corporations willing to risk everything for control. This is the Alien universe, explained from start to finish. Prehistory. The engineers seed life on Earth, Prometheus. Eons ago, most likely around 3.5 to 4 billion years ago by inference from Earth's own biogenesis, a mysterious race known as the Engineers visited primordial Earth. In a brutal act of creation, an engineer sacrificed himself, disintegrating his body to seed the planet with the building blocks of life. Humanity itself was born from this alien intervention. For millennia, the engineers watched their creation from afar, leaving clues of their existence in ancient art and temples. The same star pattern appears in an Upper Paleolithic cave painting on the Isle of Skye dated to roughly 35,000 years ago, then resurfaces in Mesopotamian material, 3,300 to 2000 BCE, Egyptian iterations, 1,500 to 1000 BCE, and a Mesoamerican example, 600 to 700 CE. Crucially, that map does not point to their homeworld, but to LV-223 in the Zeta II Reticuli system, about 39 light-years from Earth, a military bioweapons outpost. These clues lay dormant, waiting for us to uncover them. Some lore hints that the engineers later grew displeased with their creation. Evidence on LV-223 indicates they planned to strike on humanity roughly 2,000 years before the year 2093. Mummified bodies and holograms show a panicked evacuation around 100 to 200 CE, suggesting a containment breach of their own black accelerant halted the mission before it launched. Millennia later, Shaw and Holloway matched the sky mural to the cross-cultural star maps. The Prometheus Expedition lands on LV-223 and confirms it's a weapons facility, not a sanctuary. And that opening sacrificial sequence? It remains the only on-screen glimpse of anything set before the 21st century in the mainline Alien films. 2023 to 2055 AD, glimpses of the 21st century. There isn't much shown on screen in the franchise from the first half of the 21st century, but there are a couple of moments worth looking into. The first came as a promotional video for Prometheus before its launch, named The Peter Weyland Files. In it, we meet a young Peter Weyland. From a stadium-sized stage in 2023, Weyland lays out the creed that will define the century: androids indistinguishable from humans, terraforming on the horizon, and the hubristic promise, "If you'll indulge me, I'd like to change the world." By this point, Weyland Corp is said to have cured most cancers using engineered cells, and by 2025, they created the first android, called David 1. In 2034, Weyland scientists mastered faster-than-light travel, launching the first FTL-capable ship, the Heliades. Around 3 decades after the TED Talk, a brief flashback in Alien Earth lands us on a quiet beach around 2055, where Kumi Maro is sharing a tender moment with his daughter on the eve of a 65-year Maginot contract that will pull him into cryosleep and, years in, steal her from him. It's a fleeting moment, but it gives a snapshot of Earth not previously seen. We have to fast forward around 35 years now. 2089 to 2094 AD. Peter Weyland's vision and the Prometheus Expedition. Prometheus. Weyland Corp's existence sparked enormous advancements in technology, from cybernetics to terraforming and space travel. By 2089, archaeologists Elizabeth Shaw and Charles Holloway had discovered ancient star maps pointing to a specific distant moon. Sensing a monumental discovery, the aging Peter Weyland bankrolls an expedition to find our alien engineer creators. In 2093, the spaceship USCSS Prometheus arrives at LV-223, a moon containing an engineer outpost. The crew, including Weyland, Shaw, Holloway, and android David 8, enters an engineer complex of urns. They unwittingly unleash a deadly pathogen, a bioweapon the engineers created. This mutagenic black goo horrifically transforms living beings. One crew member mutates into a murderous creature. Holloway is infected by David and impregnates Shaw with the alien mutagen. Growing rapidly inside her, Shaw surgically removes it before it can kill her in a spectacularly horrifying scene. The awakened engineer pilot, enraged by the humans, attempts to launch a spacecraft carrying this bioweapon to Earth. The Prometheus's captain sacrifices the ship to crash into the alien craft, averting humanity's destruction. The engineer survivor then attacks Shaw, only to be subdued by the monstrous proto-alien born from Shaw's organism, nicknamed the Trilobite. By 2094, the Prometheus crew is virtually wiped out. Only Dr. Shaw and the android David, or rather David's severed but functional head, survive. Desperate for answers, Shaw and David leave LV-223 aboard an engineer ship, setting course to find the engineer's homeworld and learn why they created and wanted to destroy humanity. 2104 AD, David's experiments and the birth of the Xenomorph, Alien Covenant. Around 10 years later, in 2104, the USCSS Covenant is en route to Origay 6 when it is forced into an unscheduled diversion. The crew arrives at a planet, called Planet 4, hosting a ruined engineer city. This is the same world that Dr. Shaw and David reached following the events of Prometheus. There, the crew of the Covenant finds David, who has spent the past decade engaging in gruesome experiments. After arriving, David exterminated the engineers on that planet by unleashing the black goo pathogen. He then used Dr. Shaw in his experiments, tragically killing her, all driven by his twisted quest to create the perfect organism. Now, the Covenant crew becomes fodder for David's work. Parasitic creatures called neomorphs, born from the planet's spore pods, stalk the crew. David, devoid of empathy, sees the humans as test subjects. He breeds a new monster using the alien pathogen and local fauna, effectively engineering the first true xenomorph as we know it. One Covenant crew member, Captain Oram, is tricked into becoming host to a facehugger. A prototypical xenomorph bursts from his chest, the first of the species chronologically in its classic form. This protomorph creature and a second xenomorph later terrorized the remaining crew. Daniels Branson and pilot Tennessee fight desperately to survive the nightmare that David created. They manage to kill the adult xenomorph, but in a sinister twist, David himself secretly hijacks the Covenant. Posing as his identical brother android Walter, David smuggles 2 xenomorph embryos aboard the ship. The Covenant, with thousands of colonists in cryosleep and David in control, resumes course for Origay 6. David has effectively become the proud father of the xenomorph species, carrying his deadly creation toward humanity's future colonies. 2105 to 2120 AD, Weyland-Yutani and the Race for Immortality, off-screen. Following the 2099 merger that created the British-Japanese giant Weyland-Yutani, the company consolidates Weyland's space assets and Yutani's intelligence/defense portfolio into a single colonial machine, owning shipyards, synthetics lines, and stakes in extrasolar settlement programs. By 2104, it's already fielding colony megaprojects like the USCSS Covenant, while Hideo and Jenny Yutani fend off pre-launch sabotage on Earth. In the 2110s, Weyland-Yutani's focus drifts from mere better worlds marketing to corporate transcendence, perfectible synthetics, cheap rival androids for the mass market, and by 2120, an explicit immortality race across the 5 megacorps: synths, cyborgs, and hybrids. The result is a stratified android economy, and a neat fix for the continuity oddity. David-class androids have existed for decades, but the race is now about rights, replication at scale, and outliving the human body, not inventing androids from scratch. 2120 AD, the Prodigy City Incident, Alien Earth. 2 years before Ellen Ripley's fateful encounter on the Nostromo, sees a dramatic new sequence of events unfolding on Earth. According to the FX television series Alien Earth, Weyland-Yutani's secret pursuit of alien life finally bears fruit with dire consequences. By 2120, Earth is carved up between 5 megacorporations, Weyland-Yutani among them. One rival, the upstart Prodigy Corporation, is run by a young genius bent on cheating death, Boy Cavalier. Cavalier is developing human-android hybrids by taking the minds and memories of terminally ill human children and transferring them into durable synthetic bodies. The first hybrid, a girl named Wendy, is hailed as a breakthrough for immortality. But elsewhere, Weyland-Yutani hasn't forgotten the Xenomorph. In this series, the company is well aware of the alien's existence by 2120 and is actively trying to retrieve a specimen. Weyland-Yutani had sent a space research vessel, the USCSS Maginot, to capture alien species, including the infamous H.R. Geiger-designed Xenomorph. On its return journey to Earth, disaster strikes. With a menagerie of alien creatures in its hold, the Maginot crash lands into Prodigy's territory, Prodigy City, unleashing those terrifying life forms on an unsuspecting Earth. In the chaos, hybrid child Wendy and her band of fellow hybrids find themselves face-to-face with xenomorphs, along with a cyborg who will stop at nothing to recover Weyland-Yutani's precious cargo. The Alien Earth storyline adds major complications to the original film continuity. It depicts the xenomorph not only being known to Weyland-Yutani, but actually existing on Earth before 2122, something that was never mentioned in the previous canon. In the 1979 film, the Nostromo crew and officers on Earth were wholly unfamiliar with the alien. and the company's secret Special Order 937 more likely implied they had only just learned of a specimen to acquire. Because of these lore conflicts, Alien Earth status within the canon is a hot topic among fans. How exactly Alien Earth fits within the official canon remains to be seen. Either way, the series explores fascinating ideas, corporate rivalries, transhuman hybrids, and an Earth already bracing for alien contact. It's a bold reimagining of 2120, but can showrunner Noah Hawley get us from Neverland to the Nostromo? And how many loose ends will he be able to tie up along the way? Let us know what you think in the comments. 2122 AD, the USCSS Nostromo and the distress signal. Alien. Until now, humanity's first on-screen encounter with the XX-121 Xenomorph occurs in 2122. The commercial towing starship USCSS Nostromo, owned by Weyland-Yutani, is hauling ore back to Earth. The crew of 7, including Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley, is awakened from cryo-sleep mid-voyage when the ship's computer Mother detects a mysterious signal from LV-426, a desolate moon. Under company orders, they land on LV-426 to investigate. There, the crew discovers an ancient derelict alien ship and in it a chamber full of strange eggs. Executive Officer Kane is attacked by a spider-like facehugger that emerges from an egg. Back on the Nostromo, the creature detaches and dies, and Kane seemingly recovers, until a small alien bursts violently from his chest during dinner. This infant xenomorph grows with terrifying speed and begins stalking the crew one by one. The Nostromo crew, unarmed and unprepared, are picked off in horrific fashion. Then, the android Ash reveals a secret. He has a special directive to secure the creature at all costs, with the crew being expendable. Weyland-Yutani, perhaps alerted by David's earlier transmission or the LV-426 beacon, wants the alien for its bioweapons division. The remaining crew fight for survival against the formidable Xenomorph, which hides in the shadows of the ship. Ultimately, Ripley proves to be the last survivor. Ripley decides to self-destruct the Nostromo to kill the alien. In a tense escape, she narrowly reaches the shuttle Narcissus. The Xenomorph sneaks aboard, but Ripley blows it out of the airlock, finally killing the beast. Ripley, exhausted but alive, places herself and Jones, the ship's cat, into cryosleep, drifting alone through space in the Narcissus and hoping someone will find her. The year is 2122, and the nightmare seems over, for now. Worth noting here, decades later, a director's cut of Alien revealed the creature had cocooned some crew as hosts, implying Weyland-Yutani later recovered a cocoon from the Nostromo's wreckage. This detail sets up events in Alien Romulus down the line. 2137 AD, Amanda Ripley's ordeal. Alien isolation. Away from the main films, the alien menace resurfaces in Alien Isolation, set in 2137. Amanda Ripley, Ellen's daughter, searches for her missing mother and travels to Sevastopol Station after its crew recovers the Nostromo's flight recorder. Unknown to her, they also bring aboard an egg from LV-426. The resulting outbreak is a grim echo of the Nostromo disaster. A xenomorph stalks the station, slaughtering its inhabitants. Amanda and a handful of survivors fight to contain it, while Weyland-Yutani agents arrive, eager to claim the creature. The crisis spirals out of control. In the end, Amanda flushes the xenomorph into space as Sevastopol falls from orbit, another tragedy erased from the record, but proof of the company's growing obsession. 2142 AD, the Renaissance Hive awakes. Alien Romulus. Ripley's shuttle drifts through space for decades, but the universe doesn't stay idle. In 2142, precisely 20 years after the original Alien, 2122, and 37 years before Aliens, 2179, the film Alien Romulus unfolds a one-day nightmare aboard a derelict Weyland-Yutani research station named Renaissance, split into the modules Romulus and Remus. While Ripley's long cold sleep continues, a group of 6 desperate young colonists, leader Rain Carradine, her adoptive android brother Andy, Tyler, Kay, Bjorn, and Bjorn's adopted sister Navarro, are fleeing a mining colony where Rain's contract has been unjustly extended. They hijack the hauler Corbalin 4 and head for the station, hoping to steal cryostasis equipment and flee to planet Ivaga 3, where androids aren't allowed. Inside the Renaissance, chaos erupts when Tyler and Bjorn inadvertently release facehugger parasites, triggering a lockdown. Navarro becomes impregnated by one. With help from a damaged science officer android named Rook, designed to resemble Ash from Alien, Rain reprograms Andy for access, but this backfires when this firmware update shifts his loyalty to the company. Rook reveals the grim truth. Weyland-Yutani recovered the Xenomorph from the Nostromo and attempted to reverse engineer the parasites before the alien escaped and slaughtered the station crew. Navarro's chestburster kills her and unleashes a Xenomorph on board. As the group fights for survival, they face relentless alien threats, while Kay, badly injured, injects herself with Z01, a gene-rewriting fluid that Weyland-Yutani scientists harvested from facehuggers, granting rapid healing. Andy eventually returns to Rain's side after she restores his original programming. In the escape's final, horrifying twist, Kay gives birth to a human xenomorph hybrid, the Offspring, a creature born from Z01's mutagenic properties and Kay's pregnancy. The Offspring violently kills Kay, and Rain ejects it into space where it disintegrates near the planet's rings. Rain and Andy then enter cryosleep aboard the Corbelan 4, heading off toward Ivaga 3. The Romulus incident shows that Weyland-Yutani's pursuit of the Xenomorph continued relentlessly after 2122, setting the stage for even bigger catastrophes to come. It fills in a gap between the original films while honoring the established canon. The director Fede Alvarez stuck as close as possible to the film lore. 2179 AD, The Nightmare at Hadley's Hope, Aliens. In 2179, 57 years after the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is found and revived. A deep space salvage team discovers the Narcissus and brings Ripley back to Gateway Station, in Earth's orbit. Ripley wakes to learn she has been in hypersleep for decades. While she was asleep, her daughter Amanda died of old age. Ripley's story, of an alien that wiped out the Nostromo crew, falls on deaf ears. Worse, during her absence, Weyland-Yutani established a terraforming colony on LV-426, the planetoid now known as Hadley's Hope. For 20 years, the colony thrived until contact was suddenly lost. Ripley is horrified. She realizes the colonists may have met the same fate as her crew on the Nostromo. Hoping to avert another nightmare and clear her name, Ripley joins a team of colonial marines dispatched to investigate Hadley's Hope on the USCSS Sulaco. When the Marines arrive on LV-426, they find the colony seemingly abandoned, showing signs of battle. Soon they discover the horrifying truth. The colonists discovered the derelict ship and its eggs, and a horde of xenomorphs overran the colony. Ripley, the Marines, and the only surviving colonist, a young girl, Newt, are now stranded in a war against dozens of aliens. In the ensuing conflict, the majority of the Marines are systematically ambushed and slaughtered by the xenomorph swarm. Ripley takes command of the dwindling survivors, displaying a courage and resolve that's befitting of science fiction's most celebrated survivor. She rescues Newt from the alien's nest and comes face to face with the enormous alien queen. Ripley, Newt, an injured Corporal Hicks, and the android Bishop escape just as the colony's atmosphere processor explodes in a nuclear blast, wiping out the xenomorph hive. But then, in the final iconic battle, Ripley fights the Queen using a power loader exosuit, ultimately expelling the Queen out the airlock of the Sulaco. Exhausted from the ordeal, Ripley and her small surrogate family enter cryosleep for the long journey home. For a moment, it seems Ripley has finally defeated the alien threat on LV-426, winning a hard-fought victory. But Ripley's nightmare wasn't over. 2179 AD, the Fury 161 Massacre, Alien 3. The very same year, misfortune strikes again. During the Sulaco's return voyage, a hidden alien egg, likely laid by the Queen from aliens on board the Sulaco in a cruel twist of fate, hatches. The emerging facehugger likely causes a fire on the ship, forcing Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and what remains of Bishop to be jettisoned aboard an emergency escape ship. The survivors' pod crash lands on Fiorina Fury 161, a bleak prison planet. Ripley is the only one to survive the crash. Newt and Hicks perish, leaving Ripley utterly alone and grief-stricken. Unbeknownst to her at first, a facehugger also made it to the planet, infecting a local life form, a dog or ox, depending on the version of the film you see. Ripley finds herself in a grim prison facility inhabited by hard-bitten male inmates with no weapons, and a familiar nightmare prowling in the shadows. A new xenomorph, born from an animal host, soon emerges and begins killing prisoners at terrifying speed. This creature, often called the Dragon or Runner Alien, is fast and vicious. Ripley teams up with the inmates to improvise traps and fight back, but one by one, the men are slaughtered. As they battle the alien, Ripley makes a horrifying discovery. She herself is carrying a xenomorph embryo. In fact, a developing queen, implanted by the facehugger from the Sulaco. This is a death sentence, and Ripley knows it. Weyland-Yutani troops, and their own android, arrive, ostensibly to rescue Ripley, but in truth the company wants the alien queen inside her for their bioweapons program. In a final act of defiance, Ripley sacrifices herself. In the refinery's molten metal pit, Ripley throws herself in just as the infant queen chestburster begins to emerge from her chest, ensuring both she and the embryonic queen are destroyed together. As Ripley is engulfed in fire, the last xenomorph on Fury 161 is also killed. Ellen Ripley's long war comes to an end in 2179, as she gives her own life to prevent the company from obtaining the ultimate alien prize. 2379 AD, Ripley's return. Alien resurrection. 2 centuries pass. It is now 2379, but humanity hasn't forgotten the Xenomorph, or Ellen Ripley. In this era, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is defunct. The United Systems Military, USM, is the organization now, and the obsession with weaponizing the alien lives on. Scientists aboard the research vessel USM Auriga use blood samples from Fury 161 to clone Ripley, attempting to retrieve the embedded queen embryo from her DNA. After 7 failed clones, their 8th attempt finally succeeds. Ripley 8 is born, complete with an immature queen alien inside her. The scientists extract the queen embryo and it survives, growing into an adult queen xenomorph. They also keep Ripley 8 alive, but Ripley 8 is no ordinary human. The gene splicing caused by cloning a host with its parasite has made Ripley 8 a human-alien hybrid. She possesses enhanced strength, acidic blood, and a psychic link to the xenomorph species. Meanwhile, the scientists proceed to breed aliens from the queen on board, using captive human hosts kidnapped by mercenaries. Of course, containment fails. The xenomorphs escape, overrunning the Auriga. Ripley 8 finds herself among a motley crew of mercenaries plus android Call, fighting through swarms of xenomorphs to escape the doomed ship. During the chaos, the cloned queen develops an unexpected mutation, a result of sharing DNA with Ripley. Instead of the usual egg-laying, the queen gives live birth to a grotesque hybrid offspring, the newborn. This pale, human xenomorph mutant sees Ripley 8 as its mother and the queen as a rival. This results in it violently killing the queen. The newborn then turns on Ripley's group. In a disturbingly emotional confrontation, Ripley 8 uses her connection to lure the newborn into the Betty's Bay and manages to eject the creature through an acid-melted hole in a viewing window, watching as her child is torn apart in the vacuum of space. Ripley 8 and the surviving mercenaries flee in the Betty transport ship, while the Auriga crashes into Earth. In the film's extended version, Ripley finally returns to Earth, now a very different planet after centuries of overpopulation and environmental degradation, wondering whether a cloned, part-alien woman will be welcome in the world she died to save. Of course, in true horror fashion, open questions remain. The military had multiple Ripley clones. Who knows what other experiments continued in secret? Is alien resurrection truly the end of the road for the perfect organism? Let us know what you think in the comments. What about the Alien vs. Predator events, non-canonical? You may be wondering, didn't xenomorphs show up on Earth long before 2122 in some stories? Yes, in the Alien vs. Predator crossover films they did. However, these films are not part of the official canon of the main Alien timeline. The AVP movies, 2004's Alien vs. Predator and 2007's AVP Requiem, are set in the early 21st century, the same era in which they were produced, and they introduce aliens far too early to align with the Ridley Scott-James Cameron continuity. In AVP, a predator hunting ritual brings xenomorphs to an ancient pyramid beneath Antarctica in 2004. Charles Bishop Weyland, played by Lance Henriksen, and a team of humans get caught in the crossfire between the predators and their alien prey. In the sequel, a pred-alien, predator-alien hybrid wreaks havoc in a Colorado town in 2004, immediately following the first film's events, leading to a modern-day infestation that the US government nukes out of existence. These stories even imply xenomorph encounters on Earth thousands of years ago. AVP's backstory has predators using humans to breed aliens in ancient times, circa 2000 BC. All of this directly contradicts the core Alien saga, where humanity's first xenomorph encounter is in 2122, or possibly 2120 according to Alien Earth, and the creature's origin is linked to David's experiments and the engineer's bioweapons. For that reason, the AVP films exist in their own separate continuity. They're fun what-if scenarios, and indeed, the Predator franchise can include them without issues, but the crossover love only tends to go in one direction. Ridley Scott and other Alien creators have discounted Predator and AVP in the main timeline. Of course, the upcoming release of Predator Badlands might change all that. It's set to star Elle Fanning as a Weyland-Yutani synth who teams up with a young Yaochi runt seeking to prove himself on his first hunt. So will it be a true crossover event, or just the latest Alien Easter egg to pop up in a Predator film? Only time will tell. That's it for our comprehensive chronology of the Alien universe. It's a saga of creation, destruction, terror, and survival, spanning galaxies and millennia. And if you just can't get enough, don't forget to like and subscribe.